The rise of collective stupidity. What Freud knew about mob mentality. Have you ever watched a crowd of people believe something so obviously false that it made you question reality itself? Have you seen entire communities share conspiracy theories that would make a 5-year-old skeptical? Or witnessed intelligent individuals suddenly lose all critical thinking the moment they join an online group? Welcome to what I call the rise of collective stupidity. And before you think this is just about other people, remember, we're all susceptible to the psychological trap. Today we're diving deep into one of Freud's most overlooked masterworks, Group Psychology and the Analysis of the Ego. Written over a century ago, this book predicted exactly what we're seeing today: how crowds turn smart people into emotional toddlers, and why your brain basically short-circuits when you're part of a group. But here's the kicker. Freud didn't just diagnose the problem, he gave us the cure. Before we start unraveling the mystery of mass stupidity, hit that subscribe button if you want to understand the hidden forces controlling your mind. And stick around till the end, because I'll show you exactly how to break free from the herd mentality that's hijacking your thoughts. Current examples. The stupidity epidemic. Let's start with what we're seeing right now. Turn on social media and you'll witness something that would have fascinated Freud: the rapid spread of beliefs that have zero basis in reality, but somehow gain millions of followers overnight. Think about it. We live in the information age. We have more access to knowledge than any generation in human history. Yet somehow we're also living through an epidemic of collective delusion. Flat Earth theories spreading like wildfire among people who use GPS every day. Anti-vaccine movements convincing parents to reject medical science that saved millions of lives. Political movements where people literally ignore video evidence of events they witnessed themselves. And here's the truly bizarre part. Many of these believers aren't stupid people. They're doctors, engineers, teachers, individuals who can think critically in their professional lives, but suddenly lose all logical reasoning when they're a part of a group. Social media has turned this into a 24/7 phenomenon. You see it in the comment sections. Otherwise rational people sharing obviously fake news, participating in pile-ons against strangers, or defending positions they can't even explain rationally. The question isn't whether this is happening, it's why. Why do intelligent people suddenly start thinking like a mob? And that's where Freud comes in. Freud enters the analysis, the psychology of masses. In 1921, Sigmund Freud published Group Psychology and the Analysis of the Ego, and it reads like a prophecy of our current moment. Freud was trying to understand a puzzle. How do ordinary, decent people become capable of extraordinary acts of irrationality when they're part of a crowd? His conclusion was revolutionary and disturbing. When people join groups, they don't just think differently, they literally regress to a more primitive psychological state. Imagine this. You know how a mature adult can suddenly start acting like a tantrum-throwing child when they're stressed? Freud discovered that groups have the same effect on our psyche, but amplified. When we join a crowd, whether it's a physical mob or an online community, our individual ego gets overwhelmed, and we start operating from what he called our group mind. This isn't just a metaphor. Freud identified specific psychological mechanisms that shut down our critical thinking and replace it with emotional contagion. Think of your mind like a smartphone. Normally, you're running multiple apps: logic, skepticism, individual values, personal experience. But when you join a group, it's like switching to airplane mode. Most of your individual processing goes offline, and you start running on the group's operating system instead. The scary part? This happens automatically. You don't choose to stop thinking critically. Your brain just does. The mechanisms behind mass stupidity. So how exactly does this work? Freud identified 3 key mechanisms that transform thinking individuals into an unthinking mass. 1. The death of individual judgment. First, there's what Freud called the disappearance of the individual. When you're part of a group, your brain essentially outsources its decision-making to the collective. It's like having a personal assistant who suddenly quits, leaving you completely dependent on crowdsourced advice. Except the crowd isn't necessarily smarter than you. It's just louder. This is why you'll see people in groups confidently stating facts they've never personally verified. They're not lying. They genuinely believe what the group believes because their individual fact-checking mechanism has gone offline. 2. Emotional contagion over logic. Second, groups operate on emotion, not reason. Freud discovered that in crowds, feelings spread like viruses, faster and more powerfully than thoughts. Have you ever been in a movie theater where one person starts laughing and soon everyone's laughing, even if they didn't catch the joke? That's emotional contagion in action. But it's not just laughter. Fear, anger, outrage, euphoria, all emotions become amplified and infectious in groups. And here's the crucial part. When emotions take over, logic gets pushed out. This is why group decisions often seem insane in hindsight. The group wasn't thinking, it was feeling, collectively. Third, regression to childhood psychology. The third mechanism is perhaps the most disturbing: psychological regression. Freud observed that adults in groups start thinking and acting like children, and not children at their best, children at their most impulsive, demanding, and irrational. The kind of child who wants what they want right now, who sees everything in black and white, who can't handle complexity or uncertainty. This regression explains why group conversations sound like playground arguments. You're stupid. No, you're stupid. It's literally the psychological equivalent of adults reverting to kindergarten-level discourse. Modern amplifiers, social media as the perfect storm. Now here's where it gets really interesting and terrifying. Freud studied physical crowds. People gathered in the same place at the same time. But social media has created something he never imagined: permanent, invisible crowds that follow us everywhere. Your phone has become a portal to countless group minds, each one ready to override your individual thinking at any moment. Think about how this works. You wake up and immediately check your phone. Within minutes, you're exposed to the emotional states of hundreds or thousands of people. Their fears become your fears. Their outrage becomes your outrage. Their certainties become your certainties. The algorithm makes it worse by creating echo chambers, digital crowds where everyone thinks exactly the same thing. It's like being in a room where every mirror reflects the same image back at you. No wonder people become so certain of beliefs they've never actually examined. And the speed. In Freud's time, it took time for group psychology to build. People had to physically gather. Ideas spread slowly through word of mouth. Now, a single tweet can create an instant global mob of millions, all thinking and feeling the same thing within hours. The comment sections become coliseums where individual thought goes to die. People who would never say these things face-to-face become gladiators in digital group combat, their individual personalities completely subsumed by the mob identity. The Freudian solution: reclaiming your individual mind. But here's the good news. Freud didn't just diagnose the problem, he pointed toward solutions. The key is developing what he called ego strength, the ability to maintain your individual identity even when surrounded by group pressure. Solution 1. The pause practice. First, create space between stimulus and response. When you feel that rush of group emotion, whether it's outrage, fear, or euphoria, that's your cue to pause. Ask yourself, am I thinking this, or is the group thinking this through me? It sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Most people never even realize when they've switched from individual to group mind. Solution 2. The source check. Second, trace your beliefs back to their source. Freud emphasized the importance of understanding where our ideas come from. Are you believing something because you've personally investigated it, or because the group believes it? This is harder than it sounds. Group beliefs feel like personal convictions because they're accompanied by strong emotions. But emotions aren't evidence. They're just emotions. Solution 3. Embrace intellectual loneliness. Third, and this is the hardest one, learn to be comfortable thinking differently from the group. Freud called this intellectual courage, the willingness to stand alone with your thoughts, even when the crowd is pulling you in a different direction. This doesn't mean being contrarian for its own sake. It means maintaining your capacity for independent judgment, even when that judgment makes you unpopular. Solution 4. Practice emotional regulation. Fourth, Develop your ability to think clearly, even when emotions are running high. The group mind feeds on emotional intensity. The more worked up everyone gets, the less thinking happens.